We now get to have some fun with Paul Finebaum as he decided to call out Tennessee at SEC Media Days on Wednesday. Remember, Tennessee went live on Tuesday at SEC Media Days, and Heupel said we'll have competition at the quarterback position, referring to Joey Aguilar, Jake Berklinger, and true freshman George McIntyre. He praised all three for their summer work, noting how each has developed relationships and a rapport in both the meeting room and on the field. With fall camp less than a month away, Heupel said that none of the contenders had separated themselves, but the team made it sound like they had fallen in love with Joey Aguilar. Paul Finebaum, on the other hand, laughed off what Josh Heupel said. And Paul Finebaum decided to go all in against his alma mater and against his beliefs in his alma mater, probably in a way that would make everybody around here mad. Paul Finebaum, when asked about Tennessee possibly returning to the college football playoff and Heupel saying their expectations haven't changed, called it fiction. Here's his quote. I love fiction, and it's absolutely fiction. Tennessee is not making it back to the playoff. They lost Nico Iamaleava. They have Joey Aguilar, who went to Appalachian State, transferred to UCLA, and then to Tennessee, all in what seemed like about half an hour. Tennessee will be good, but they're not good enough to make the playoff. Here's something that I can say straight up, and it's bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank member FDIC, Life Made Better. Bank on it. Tennessee fans should not worry at all about what Paul Finebaum says about them and their possibility to make the playoffs. Paul Finebaum knows SEC ball. He knows it well, okay? But he has not always been right on his predictions. In fact, he's many times been wrong, and more wrong than many could imagine. Okay. And I'm not saying Tennessee will make the college football playoff, but I'll say this. If they miss it, it won't be because they are a worse team. This is a genuine belief I have. They won't miss the playoff because they're a worse team than last year. If they miss the playoff, it's because the schedule's gotten a little more difficult. Where is Tennessee worse? Okay, Jamal McCoy being hurt. Yes, I think Joey Aguilar this year will be better than Nico Iamaleava was last year. Not better than Nico Iamaleava would have been this year, but better than he was last year. I think Tennessee with 3 new receivers is going to be better at receiver. The one area they'll be worse. The one area is in the running game with the interior offensive line and the running back. Fine, but everything else will be better. And yes, that was a huge part of their team this past year. But they should be better everywhere else, assuming Jamal McCoy gets healthy by the end of September. So I'm going to tell you why in a minute, but very clearly, bank on it, Tennessee should not be worried that Paul Finebaum doesn't think they'll make the playoffs because his predictions don't hold water.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
All right, that was bank on it. Let me tell you why Tennessee fans should not take what Paul Finebaum says too seriously. Paul Finebaum was very, very, very skeptical of the Josh Heupel hire when Tennessee hired Josh Heupel in early 2021. He described the hire as, quote, underwhelming and also, quote, not a very imaginative hire. He said that the hire reflected poorly on the Tennessee program, implying it wasn't a desirable job. Finebaum said, this is truth. He said, quote, reality has struck for Tennessee with the Heupel hire. He said, it's a check on the appeal of the Tennessee job. He said, quote, frankly, I don't hear anything from Heupel today that would make you think Tennessee will break down any doors. It was like a cattle prod to the system. The expectations have been quieted dramatically. At the end of the search, the reality has struck that this was as good as Tennessee could do. Now, did they settle for Heupel? Possibly. Finebaum also said later, quote, "The one thing I feel comfortable and confident about Heupel is that he's going to run a clean program. As soon as I say that, what can that get you in big time college football is the better question. Can he recruit? I think it will be difficult right now. He may turn a couple of players around. That happens. We've seen that all the time. But ultimately, he's going to have to survive. And now his boss, who just had a coronation the other day, now has some pressure on him. This is his hire. Had he brought in someone else like Jamie Chadwell or Billy Napier, then you could say he went a little bit off center and brought in an up-and-comer. But this is not a very imaginative hire. This is pretty much a pretty underwhelming from a WOW appeal standpoint. Yes, that's right. I want to point out that the same Paul Finebaum who said Tennessee's not making the playoff this year implied Tennessee should have hired Billy Napier from Louisiana over Josh Heupel in 2021. All right, guys, come on. Come on. That's kind of crazy to think about. Now, yes, he did bring up Jamie Chadwell, and I think there's a lot of reasons to believe in Jamie Chadwell, but the reason you couldn't hire Jamie Chadwell, and as Paul Finebaum knew this at the time, Jamie Chadwell, Tennessee hired Josh Heupel. They had just fired Jimmy Pruitt for recruiting violations, major ones. Jamie Chadwell put a program on probation and made it forfeit a bunch of games from when he was there for recruiting violations. This was pre-NIL. There was no way they could have hired Jamie Chadwell. Billy Napier did look like he was winning a lot at Louisiana, but as we now know, Heupel was the better hire. Okay, when you look at those stats, you can't even, there's no question that Tennessee made the right hire. And by the way, I wrote in 2021, I did not fully endorse the Heupel hire. I did not dismiss it either. I said I was writing for All for Tennessee, part of the Fansided Network at the time, and I wrote 5 reasons this hire could work. Okay, Finebaum also called the Heupel hire a swing and a miss. Okay, so now Finebaum did soften his stance. You know when he finally softened his stance, by the way? You know when he finally decided to say maybe this hire is working? In late September of 2022, he went on ESPN and touted the Heupel hire and said that maybe this hire has worked out. And not in those exact terms, but that's basically what he said. By that point, Tennessee was 4-0 and in the top 10. And they had gone 7-6 their first year under Heupel after everybody thought there was no chance they would even make a bowl game. So come on. Where is Heupel coming from? I mean, where is Finebaum coming from on this? I think Tennessee fans should be very, very, very nonchalant about Paul Finebaum saying they won't make the playoff. Again, I think Paul Finebaum is a true fan of Tennessee. I think he does. I don't think he has it out for Tennessee. He's critical of coaches everywhere, okay? I think that he's giving his objective take. I think sometimes he goes very strong on what seems like the obvious take on the surface without looking beyond it. And I think that's what I'm criticizing Paul Finebaum for in this moment. All right. And so in this situation, trying to say that Tennessee is not going to make the college football playoff. Let's just go down the schedule real quick, okay? The 2025 schedule. We've talked about this. Tennessee would have gone 11-1 last year, not for a fluke upset loss to Arkansas. The most likely type of upset loss they could suffer this year of that type of game would be Mississippi State or Syracuse. They get Syracuse at noon to open the year. Syracuse breaks in a ton of new starters, more than even Tennessee. Tennessee has better talent. Mississippi State on the road in late September, they're not going to yet be on the level Arkansas was at last year. You could bring up Kentucky, but Tennessee always beats Kentucky. So what does that leave us with if you're Tennessee? Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. I keep saying this, provided Tennessee runs the table everywhere else, and they should run the table against Arkansas and Oklahoma, New Mexico State, East Tennessee State, and UAB at home, and Vanderbilt. They haven't really been upset yet at home under Josh Heupel. You guys can check that for me, but I'm almost certain they've never been up. I'm almost certain Heupel's never been upset at home at Tennessee since he's been at Tennessee. So if Tennessee's going to be favored in all those games, they're going to win those games. At which point it comes down to Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. I just gave you guys my thoughts on Florida yesterday. Georgia, Tennessee gets to play them in September, and they may have quarterback issues. Are we sure Tennessee can't steal one of those games? And if they steal one of those games, the path to 10-2 becomes likely, and 10-2 is good enough for them to make the college football playoff. So where's Paul Finebaum coming from that Tennessee's just not going to make the college football playoff? I don't get that. That makes no sense. And I don't think Tennessee fans should really worry about Paul Finebaum saying that. I think his credibility and not believing at Tennessee is a little bit shot right now because of his track record since Heupel has been hired.